Okay, so there's going to be a part 2 to this video because I accidentally clicked the record button to stop recording because my phone slipped out of my hand, and so yeah. So there's going to be a part 2 to this, or to that last video, and you guys will see that eventually after this one is uploaded too. So, alright, well, I'm going to scrub the rest of these buckets and I will get back to you. Oh, and note to self, the horses buckets. There's a horse. We have two horses out here. There's a black one and a white one. Well, a dark brown one, but closer to black, I think. So these horses' water buckets are a lot dirtier because I don't know why, actually. It's hard to say. Okay, so the horse's water is always dirtier because, as I said, they're a lot dirtier than alpacas. They can fit a lot more hay in their mouth, and they spit, they salivate into the water, and sometimes they just get it in their mouth and they spit it back out. I guess it kind of rinses their mouth out, I guess. I don't know. I'm not an expert on animals, but I'm sure that's something like that, or they just do that to moisten their mouth. Alright, now that that's done, I'm going to put the brush up there and see how dirty the water is when it comes out. And then how clean the bucket is after scrubbing. It's a lot cleaner than it was. Okay, now I'm gonna go scrub the rest of the buckets. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when it's winter time out, the buckets usually tend to freeze. Well, some of the buckets do, because some of the buckets plug into an outlet that heats the entire bucket up, so they can actually still drink, and it keeps the bucket water and not ice. And some of them don't, and some of them just don't work. So what I usually do is I either take my foot. Well, I don't usually take my foot because my foot is very dirty usually. So I take a rubber mallet and just break up all the ice and then take it outside and dump it out. I'm gonna finish dumping the rest of these now. Okay, so now after I get done dumping the buckets and scrubbing them out and stuff, I go over here to water spigot, the water pump thingy. I believe this one is an antique. Well, not really an antique. It's in the style of an antique, I believe. Whereas modern day water pumps look like this. Sorry about all the cobwebs and stuff. So what I do is I turn on the hose after I hook it up to the water spigot. I take the hose and I go around and fill the alpaca's buckets. And I will show you that right now. I'll get back to you when I get to where I'm going. Okay, now I'm here. It's kind of a hassle doing this with one hand. So what I'm going to do is I usually stand right in front of the door and I fill up their water buckets. Just like that. So I'm going to do this for all the alpacas and horses and the llamas. The llamas just protect the alpacas from any wild animals that could possibly get in here, which is very unlikely to happen because there's a lot of fences and a lot of gates that they would have to get through or hop over. So, yeah. Now that the horses are both in here, you can see. Well, he has his rear end towards me, but anyways. Okay, so after I'm done watering the alpacas, after I'm done watering the alpacas, I like to make sure the hose is out of the way for when I pull the tractor back inside. And then what I like to do is I like to go over to the pump and turn it off. But I don't unhook the hose because I'm going to be using it again. I just turn off the water pump. I'm going to clean off my boots really quick just by scraping them on the bucket of the tractor. Because usually there's poop that gets caked in my boots. And I don't like poopy boots. And now what I like to do is I like to open the barn door, which is just 2 latches on each side that go like this. And I can't open it yet because I didn't do the other latch, dummy. I do this. Oh, there we go. Now what I just do is I slide it open. It's not as heavy as it looks. It's not as heavy as it looks. Definitely not. Okay, and then what I like to do is I like to pull the tractor out because, I mean, I'm gonna need to use the tractor. So I'm gonna set you guys down right here, and then you can watch me pull out the tractor. All right. Okay. Start wearing a belt. Okay, now after that, I take out these tools that I use for the horses' stalls and for the rest of the alpaca stalls. I don't use so there's a rake and a plastic rake pitchfork kind of thing. I'll show you them. Here's the pitch, there we go. I'm looking at the camera. Here's the plastic pitchfork rake thing, and then here's the regular rake, and then what I use to scoop the alpaca stalls is this wheelbarrow and a pitchfork, and I will do that once I get into the stall. Okay, so now that I'm here, let's see if I can't angle that like that. There we go. So what I like to do first is I start. Hang on. Gator straps on the floor. I always knock that down. I like to start by scraping some of this hay into a pile, because then I use it to put into the pile after I'm done scooping the current hay out of the pile. So put that there. That's not nearly enough, so I'll take some old hay out of their hay bucket. There we go. That should be enough. Okay, so what I do now is I just scoop all this hay out, and then I'll show you something afterwards. Okay. Ugh. Very smelly today. Then I scoop all that hay, the old hay from the poop pile. Then I scoop all the hay from the old poop into the old poop pile and hay, the poop from the poop pile and all this other stuff, into the wheelbarrow. left with, I'll show you. Now I'm left with this orangey brown stuff that is called Equine Fresh. That's what soaks up all the urine and or pee. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to scoop this out and I'll show you what the Equine Fresh looks like when I go get it. And I always try not to I always try not to go too deep, because under all this stuff there's clay and dirt, mixture of clay and dirt that I'm not supposed to dig up, but sometimes I accidentally dig it up because I go too deep, or because because the ground is so mushy. Depends on the days, really. Rinse some of this there. With my foot. Never be afraid to get dirty. If you're afraid to get dirty, then this is not the job for you. Because you'll get very dirty out here. And you cannot be scared of being kicked or spit on. Because some of them spit and some of them kick. They don't kick as hard as the horses. I have not been kicked by a horse, but I have been kicked by an alpaca. I know that horses kick really, really hard. Alpacas actually can kick quite hard too. Not as hard as horses though. To all the extra stuff that I can't get out, I just kind of rake it so it evens out. And now I'm going to go get some equine and I will be right back. I will show you guys what that looks like when I get there. Okay, so equine comes in this bag. It's a 45-pound bag. And we use it, it's like, here, I'll show you, hang on. It's little wood pellets. Here, I'll show you. It's little wood pellets, and it has chemicals in it that makes it not smell as bad, I guess. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but it is very nice to have handy. Okay, so what I do now is I sprinkle it over the old poop spot. I got a little bit too much in there. So I'm going to set this outside, or actually, I'll just set it in the barrel. And now you can see that all the new pellet and the new equine is added there. You're going to take the hay that you scooped, or not scooped, but raked out off to the sides, the fresh poop hay. The fresh hay for the poop pile, and then you're just going to rake it back and forth until it evens out. Oh, someone's itching their butt. Never mind. Thought one of the horses tried to open the door. And then it looks like that, and then you're done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish doing the next one, and then I will show you how I feed them. So I will be right back. Okay, so now for the feeding part. So what I do is there's a hay bale, and it has baling twine on it, and they do have knots in them where we cut them so it is easier to pull out the baling twine. So right at the knots, here I'll show you, hang on. So right at those knots right there and there, or whatever, I forget my phone is mirrored from what I'm doing because it's in selfie mode or whatever. I take out the baling twines, there's the 2 knots, and then we hang them over a fence post right over here. I'm not showing this because I cannot hold my phone and do that at the same time. Okay. And there was already a little bit of hay left from the last hay bale. And then what I do is I count how many I need. About this much, if that's, about that much. This much. For one tub. And it's the same thing for horses too, pretty much, except, hey, don't spit. Same thing for horses pretty much, except their poop is a lot bigger than alpaca poop, because alpacas are little, kind of like bunny turds, bunny rabbit poop. So, like little pellets. And horse poop is bigger, like big round balls, kind of like, and I will show you that when I scoop their stalls. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to unlatch the door, make it so it separates, so it closes separately, and I like to close the bottom part of the door. And now, what I like to do, or here I'll show you, let's see, is there a dried out piece of poop? Not really. There's a dried out piece of poop. I'll just pick it up with my bare hands so you guys can see it. It doesn't bother me because all they do is eat hay. This is what their poop looks like compared to alpaca poop where it's pellets. It's dried out, so I don't really need to worry about it. I'm gonna throw that in the bucket now. Wipe my hand off. Okay, so what I like to do, if I can set my phone up somewhere. Okay, so what I like to do is, you see how they poop in one spot and multiple spots? I like to use the rake on it and rake it up into one big pile, and then I use the hay, or not the hay, the rake pitchfork, and I like to rake it, or use it and up and put it into one, and put it into the bucket. I'll show you. Hang on. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I make sure to get it out of the corners too. one. You might not be able to hear me over the fan in the next stall over, but that is fine. Alright, now I will show you what I'm talking about. So now that I raked it all up, it's in a big pile right there. And I will set my phone down right here, maybe. And I use this. And I'm careful with this because it breaks really easy, apparently. And I like to use my foot to kind of guide it up into there. And sometimes I'll overshoot it, but that's fine. I'm going to break out of here so I don't bury it. And horse food. Okay, and I like to use my foot to break it back up into the pile. And in this stall, there's already fresh equine down, because I did that yesterday, and it's not ready to be replaced yet. Usually with horses, it'll last a couple days. But with alpacas, it lasts usually a week. It depends on how many you have and how much they urinate inside, because we have an outside poop pile too that they are supposed to go poop in usually, but they don't listen, so that's fine. Okay. Last little piece right here. I don't have a problem with touching animal poop. Oh wait, yeah, never mind. Okay, now I open the door back up. Now, if I can, here we go. And there's an outside food bucket that they have. I'm not sure why, but there is. And what I usually do is, since they are kind of slobs, because horses, well, they like to pull it out all over the place, I like to put it back in. Feel around, pick out any of the stuff that's chewed up, gross. Because there's one of the horses just chews it up and spits it out, which is disgusting, but I don't know. They eat the same kind of hay that alpacas do. We don't waste a lot of hay around here because hay is expensive, and you would find that out. Ew, that's a big piece. You will figure that out. You would figure that out if you had alpacas or horses. I mean, talking about the wrong kind of animal here. And you can see how it's all wet and clumpy. I try to pick out most of that stuff. And what doesn't get picked out is, it's no big deal. They'll pick through what they want to. Ow. Got a hand in my eye. And now, after all that wet stuff is picked out, I like to take the rest of the hay from the bucket outside, from the outside bucket, and I like to scoop it up with my hands and, oh, sorry. Excuse me, Foxy, or not Foxy, Kiwi. and I like to put it in their bin, the older one's bin, because he doesn't eat as much. And that's it. Just like to make sure that it's even out. And I think I have a little bit extra in there that I can put in that one too. Actually, that stuff's wet and gross. The stuff in the bottom's wet and gross, so I'll just scoop it out and rake it up. When I rake out the mud lots up by the doors, doors into the barn, I rake up the mud lots and I rake up all the extra hay, and I will show you that in a few minutes. So, okay, so now after that, what I do is I get them food, which is the same amount of hay that the alpacas eat. As I said, the other horse, the one that's older, we don't give him much hay because he just spits it out all over the place. He doesn't swallow any. We feed him grain. He just likes to chew on it, I think, and he likes to think that he's doing it, actually eating, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, so now put it in the food bin, and I like to kind of shake it to break it apart. That way it prevents them from pulling it out all over the floor. And now I grab my rake and I rake the mud lot. And there's not much hay on this side, but on the other side there is. But I will try to get some of the hay out. Okay. I'm gonna set my phone down right there and I'll show you what I mean. There's also usually hay right in front of the doors because they kick it around and stuff. So that's what you gotta look out for. And this is what I'm talking about when you rake the mud lots. It's just in the general area where they are. And then all the loose dirt you can just kind of scrape over with your foot. Now what I do is I put this in the wheelbarrow. Oh, I forgot my phone's right here. And that is it for raking and doing horses' stalls. And usually what I do is, if you see there's imperfections in the ground right here, I just kind of stamp it with my foot. Stomp on it, stamp it, whatever you want to say. Just to even out the ground. Even out their poop pile, so they don't trip or something. Because yes, horses can trip, and it can cause them, if it's a severe trip, it can cause them to break their foot or something. And I don't want that because I love those horses dearly. And usually if a horse breaks their bone, they're too big to have their bone fixed, so they have to be put down usually. Unless it's like a really small break. So yeah, I'm gonna make a part 3 to this video so I can try to conserve some of my phone battery, and I will show you what I do once I'm done scooping all the stalls and stuff. And as for the horses stall, we don't put hay over the poop pile because the poop is big enough as to where I can rake it up and use the rake pitchfork thingy. Now I latch the stall, and I'm done with that, and I will see you in the next video, which is part 3.